Okay, 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 sir. Thank you. Good morning, students. Yesterday we have learned about evidences of evolution, biological evidences of evolution. Today we will go for theories of evolution. Okay. So regarding this theories of evolution, so many scientists have put forward the theories. Among those famous people who have put forward the theories of evolution, various theories have been proposed, and among those people, a great scientist such as Lamarck is there, then Darwin is there, Hugo de Vries is there. So like that, so many people are there who gave theories regarding evolution. Among all the scientists, Lamarck can be dealt as the first and primemost person. And if you come to this Lamarckism, the theory or explanation given by Jean-Baptiste de Lamarck will be taken as Lamarckism. And this, if we go for Lamarckism, it is actually explained by Jean-Baptiste de Lamarck, and he is a French biologist, and he has written a book that is known as Philosophie Zoologique. So in this theory of evolution, Lamarck has explained about the influence of environment. That is the major thing. So how the environment of an organism, in the sense the habitat, environment of this organism, which will be living in the place, in that particular place, will be how it will be influenced by this environment. That was the explanation given by Lamarck. That means environment in which the organism will be living will have hold on the organism. Okay. So this was the theory put forward by Jean-Baptiste de Lamarck. Not only the influence of environment, and he has dealt with use and disuse theory, then inheritance of acquired characters. So these are the 3 points put forward by Lamarck. So coming to the first one, influence of environment on organism. Here, this environment, if it is getting changed, even the organism also will undergo change. That means, in another way, we can deal this with a term that is called as acclimatization. Here, acclimatization in the sense, the organism will be changing its lifestyle according to the change that occurs in environment. So that is about the influence of environment. And coming to the use and disuse theory, if we use the organs, they will develop more. If we are not using the organs, they'll get diminished. That means the organs which are used more will flourish well and will develop more. And if we are not using those organs, naturally, they'll get diminished. For example, if you take up yesterday we have dealt with the vestigial organs. Can you recollect? These organs, in the sense vermiform appendix, since it is not useful or not used in human being, it got diminished. just a very long appendix has got into the size of a little finger. Since we are not using that vermiform appendix, it got diminished and it became in a vermiform, occupying only a finger length. Is it not? So that type of theory was put forward by Lamarck. In the sense, if we use the organism, if a particular organism uses its organs, they will develop more. If they are not using their organs, those organs will get diminished. So that will be called as use and disuse theory. And coming to the inheritance of acquired characters, the above two theories, in the sense above 2 points, that is nothing but influence of environment and use and disuse of organs, will be inherited into the progeny. That means hereditary. It will become hereditary. So that was the theory put forward by great scientist Jean-Baptiste de Lamarck. That means every organism will have an influence of its environment, and if that particular organism is using, its organs will be developed. If it is not using, those organs will get diminished. So those changes that occur in organism will go for inheritance. In the sense, they will these characters which have been attained in that particular organism will be given to the progeny of its, in the sense, the generation after generation, it will be continued. So this was the theory put forward by Lamarck. And for explaining these points, he has taken into consideration the example that is nothing but the giraffe. So giraffe, in the sense, here this one will be used to have a very, in the sense, it's not too high in the beginning. How it attained its height, in the sense, by using its organs. Just to approach or just to catch hold of the leaves of a tree as a food material, it used to stretch its neck, it seems. And it used to stretch its forelimbs. Imagine if we want to catch hold of a object which is placed high in a shelf, what you will do? You will stand on your heel, is it not? Just on your toes, you will stand and you will stretch your hand to catch hold of that object, which is more than the height of your height, is it not? So like that, this giraffe used to stretch its neck for catching these leaves of a great high tree. In that process, since it is using its forelimbs and neck, these two organs have been stretched, in the sense they have been flourished, they have been lengthened, such that present day giraffe got into existence, it seems. So that was the explanation given regarding use and disuse theory. Of course, coming to the disuse theory, snakes, while crawling on the land or soil, they need not have any of the limbs, is it not? So since they are not utilizing the limbs, naturally limbs will become diminished. So that was the example which was taken in the case of disuse theory. Okay, so for stretching it, here in this picture you can observe how it is stretching its neck and how these limbs got lengthened for catching hold of the leaves that are placed high on the tree. It has stretched its neck, and since it has used its neck to the greater extent, naturally this neck and the limbs, forelimbs, have been lengthened. And ultimately, when this giraffe reproduces, the progeny will be ultimately getting the same type of long neck, long forelimbs. Okay, so this was the explanation given by the great scientist Jean-Baptiste de Lamarck. Okay, and actually here, if you go for the inheritance of acquired characters, of course, those 2 points may be correct, but inheritance of these acquired characters will not be passed on to the next generation. That was the theory put forward by another scientist named as August Weismann. So August Weismann is a scientist who had an objection for this Lamarckism. What Lamarck told, those characters which have been attained by the organism will be inherited to the progeny, next generation after the generation. But that point was objected by the scientist named as Augustus Weismann. So according to him, these characters which have been attained by the organism will not be inherited to the next progeny. That was the point raised by August Weismann. For this, he has taken the example of cutting the tails. That is ultimately technically known as decaudalization experiment. So he took mice, nothing but rats, and he has cut the tail of a rat. That means organ was cut, in the sense tail that is taken as an organ has been amputated. If Lamarckism is correct, then naturally the progeny of that particular mice or rat should not have tail, is it not? But the progeny of that particular rat had tail. In the sense, he has done experiments up to 22 generations. Very patiently, he cut that tail of the progeny and observed whether the next progeny will be getting tail or not. So even 23rd generation also got the tail. That means actually Lamarckism, in the sense the inheritance of acquired characters was disproved. It's not correct. Sense here use and disuse theory may be correct, or even the influence of environment on organisms also may be correct, but it will not be inherited to the next progeny. Okay, so that was the theory put forward by Augustus Weismann. What explanation he has given, in the sense, maybe the development or maybe the change that occurs in that particular organism is pertain to only somatoplasm, but it will not be given to germplasm. As you know, somatoplasm is nothing but the plasm that is seen in living cells, but germplasm only will be helpful in production, in the sense the characters that have to be produced in progeny, you should have connection with the germplasm. Germplasm, in the sense how the gametes will be having the plasm, that plasm will be called as germplasm, and whereas normal cells which are seen in the body will be containing somatoplasm only. Somatic, that is concerned with the body. So the material that is seen in the body cells will be called as somatoplasm, whereas the gametes will be having germplasm. So the changes that occur in the somatoplasm will not be given to germplasm, hence no change will be occurring in the progeny's body, where the changes that occur in the particular organism in somatoplasm. So that was the explanation given by Augustus Weismann. Okay, if at all any change occurs in somatoplasm, it will not be transferred to the next generation. But if at all any change occurs in germ plasm, that means wherein you can expect that germ plasm in gametes, naturally it will be inherited to the next progeny or next generation. Okay, so that was the explanation given by Augustus Weismann. And he has even given the other examples, such as well-developed muscles of athletes who run so fast will be having a great development of muscles. That athletes' children will not be having well-developed muscles just like their father. Okay, so that was the explanation given. And even another example also, we can take the making perforations to pinna. Girls will be having, of course, nowadays even boys also wearing, that's the other way around. Pinna, they will have perforation, and for wearing jewelry or ornaments, they'll have, they'll make perforations. Even if the perforation is done at the early stage or later stage for pinna, that girl, when she gives birth to young generation, the born baby will not have perforation. That itself will be telling us that the change occurring in somatoplasm will not be given to the germ plasm or will not be transferred to the next generation. Okay, so that was the theory put forward by August Weismann. Even though we take these examples into consideration, some scientists such as Pope, Osborne, Packard, Spencer, all these scientists have the methods, in a sense, same mind as that of Lamarck. So contributions of Lamarck were accepted by some of the scientists like Pope, Osborne, Packard, Spencer, all these people. So those people who followed Lamarckism are called as followers of Lamarck, and ultimately they are known as, that the theory is known as Neo-Lamarckism. Okay, Neo-Lamarckism is nothing but the people, the theory put forward by people who follow the scientist Lamarck. Okay, that means here external, what explanation they have given in the sense, organisms acquire new structures due to their adaptations to the changed environmental conditions. That means due to environmental conditions change, what are all the adaptations that occur or that adapted by the organism will be given to the progeny they have given. Okay, so these external conditions stimulate somatic cells, of course, you know very well, but those somatic cells will produce certain secretions which ultimately reach the sex cells, it seems. That was the explanation given by Neo-Lamarckists. So the conditions or changes that occur in external condition, external environment will stimulate ultimately somatic cells, and these somatic cells will produce or will secrete some secretions which will ultimately reach the sex cells or nothing but the gametes through blood, it seems. So if these secretions reach sex cells, you know very well that these ones will be giving rise to offspring. So such changes or variations can be inherited by offspring. So that was the explanation. In a sense, secretions will be given out by the somatic cells, and those secretions will reach the sex cells through blood, and those changes will be inherited by the offspring. So that was the explanation given by neo-Lamarcks, in the sense, the followers of Lamarck. Okay, and even here they also have given some examples, such as the cave-dwelling salamander, nothing but Proteus anguinus. Proteus anguinus. This is actually the salamander that is belonging to class Amphibia. It used to have the environment in cave, in the sense cave-dwelling animal. And naturally, you know very well, in case light will not be getting penetrated. So if light is not there, naturally eyes are not functional. Even the skin color also will not be developed. It will be pale in color. And all such changes will be seen in the cave-dwelling organisms. So, for example, the neo-Lamarckists, particularly Paul Kammerer, who is termed as neo-Lamarckist, has taken the example of this cave-dwelling salamander known as Proteus anguinus. When it is exposed to daylight, it has developed normal eye success. And even color of the skin also has been changed. So in this example, how here they have turned in the sense, the same thing. Somatic cells produce certain secretions, and those secretions will reach the sex cells, and these sex cells will ultimately give rise to offspring. So the changes that occur in somatic cells will be ultimately given to the offspring. That is nothing but inheritance. Okay. So by taking this cave-dwelling salamander, the character of developing normal eyes and skin change, skin color change also has been passed on to the next generation. That was the explanation given by neo-Lamarck, who is known as Paul Kammerer. Okay, he is also considered as neo-Lamarck. So this is about the starting scientist regarding evolution, known as Jean-Baptiste de Lamarck. And next we will switch over to the next scientist, who is known as Charles Robert Darwin. In short form, we will call him as Darwin. He is actually an English naturalist who loves nature. Okay, residing in England. And when he was in boyhood itself, he has gone for one voyage. That is actually between 1831 to 1836. Okay, so in the teenage itself, he has gone for one voyage in a for a duration of 5 years in a ship called as the HMS Beagle. HMS Beagle. Okay, so this in this ship he has gone for one voyage, and for what this one voyage was done, in the sense world survey, how the environment will be, how the flora and fauna. Of course, you know very well, flora is nothing but the plant kingdom, and fauna is nothing but animal kingdom. How the flora and fauna of the particular islands, which were taken to be the experimental land, nothing but Galapagos Islands. So these Galapagos Islands, if we want to see, we have to go to South America, Spanish Ecuador. That is the area where this great Charles Darwin has observed the environment, observed the flora and fauna. Okay, so he was much influenced by 3 publications, namely the theory put forward by Thomas Malthus, that is actually the principles of population. wherein this great scientist Malthus has stated that the animals increase in geometric progression, whereas the food sources for those organisms will increase in arithmetic progression. That means the organisms will be multiplying in a great number, whereas the food sources will not be increasing that much. So that was the theory put forward by Malthus. So that thing is dealt as principles of population. So as the generation is getting increased, food is not getting increased. That's why starvation is occurring at present in this world. Deaths occurring due to non-availability of the food material. Why? Because geometric progression, animals will be increasing, whereas the food will not be increasing, food sources will not be increasing to that greater level. That is only arithmetic progression. So due to this, starvation will be occurring, many species will be dying. So that was the theory put forward by Malthus. So this theory put forward by Malthus was attracted by or influenced Darwin. Okay, taking into that consideration, apart from this, here uniformitarianism. So this theory put forward by Charles Lyell, who has written the principles of geology. In that, he has explained the phenomenon of gradualism, how the earth has been changed very gradually and very slowly, in the sense year after year, year after year, year after year, like that, how the earth has been changed. That was ultimately taken to be the uniformitarianism. And these theories put forward by Charles Lyell and Malthus influenced this person, who Charles Darwin, such that he has gone for the theory of origin of species, in the sense theory of natural selection. Apart from these two scientists named as Malthus, Charles Lyell, even Alfred Russel Wallace also, theory put forward by Alfred Russel Wallace also has influenced this person. So how this Alfred Russel Wallace has written, in the sense, tendency of varieties to depart from original types, in the sense how the changes or how the variations have taken place was given by Wallace, and how the earth has been changed gradually and slowly is given by Charles Lyell, and how the food material is not getting increased is given by Malthus. So ultimately, three scientists have influenced the scientist, that is nothing but Darwin. So by taking all these people's, in a sense, three people's theories into consideration, he has given, or he has written a book that is known as Origin of Species, a great book regarding the evolution, in which natural selection was explained. That was a book or theory written by Charles Darwin. Okay, so if we go for this theory that is put forward by Charles Darwin in the book that is known as Origin of Species, in the theory that is known as natural selection, here he has explained, he didn't explain actually what is evolution, but explained how evolution might have occurred. Have you got the point? I repeat it once again. Darwin didn't explain what exactly evolution is, but he explained how evolution might have occurred in nature. So according to his belief, evolution is a gradual change. It's not a sudden change. All of a sudden, changes will not take place according to Charles Darwin. It's a gradual change. Year after year, generation after generation, changes will be occurring. And ultimately, if you take the first generation and maybe 10th generation, then a little change can be found out from first generation to 10th generation. That means it's a gradual change or slow change. If you observe only, it will be seen. In the sense, here the theory actually put forward will be given. In the sense, what are all the explanations that were, or what are all the observations that were given by this great person, Charles Darwin, can be dealt in 6 headings. The first one among these 6 headings is nothing but prodigality of production or overproduction. Here we have to come to a conclusion in regarding organisms is each and every organism will be ready to produce its progeny to the greater number, Okay, so that is nothing but overproduction. Why it is done so? In the sense, each and every organism is willing to propagate or willing to produce its progeny to the greater number such that it can be flourished. Same way, if you observe a plant which will be able to produce seeds, naturally it will be prepared to produce more and more number of seeds such that its progeny can be well distributed, well flourished. Okay, so that is the motto of each and every organism in this earth. That is the thing given. Every organism tends to increase its population in a large proportion. Why? Because it wants to flourish naturally. If you take up animal examples, for example, paramecium, if you take up, you have seen in first year, junior intern. Paramecium, you have seen reproduction in paramecium. Of course, in 10th class also you have dealt. Paramecium will be dividing by binary fission. One single paramecium will be dividing into 2 within no time. It will be produced into 3 to 4 times per day. It will be producing more and more number of organisms. It will be taking only 20 minutes time for a binary fission. Imagine a single paramecium when it undergoes the binary fission. How many organisms, how many paramecia, baby paramecia will be produced? And if you go for multiple fission, number of organisms will be produced. And if you go for conjugation, by the union of 2 paramecia, 8 baby paramecia will be produced. Whatever may be the process of reproduction, paramecium will be able to produce number of organisms within a day itself. Is it not? So like that, here each and every organism will be able to produce its population to the greater extent. So at this rate, if it is going for binary fission, it will be able to produce equal to 10,000 times of that earth at the end of 9,000 generations. That means so many organisms can be produced by its reproduction. And if you go for another example, salmon fish produces 28 millions of eggs. And in the same way, starfish also will be able to produce 1 million eggs in a season. Just imagine how many seasons will be there. So throughout its life, they will be able to produce number of their progeny. And even if you see all these organisms, they'll get flourished. So many organisms of same variety will be produced. Okay. Imagine all these eggs hatch into larvae, and then if they attain this reproductive age such that they also can lay eggs, and those get hatched into larvae, how it will, all the seeds will be filled with these organisms, is not? So that is the point given in prodigality of production or overproduction. Okay, so here another example, if you take up even the slowest breeder, nothing but elephant can produce 19 million descendants at the end of 800 generations. So if it is not checked, naturally all these millions of descendants will be able to flourish, then how the earth will? The theory in prodigality of production or overproduction. And now coming to the second point, that is constancy in population. In previous point in overproduction, what we have learned, every organism will be able to produce or will be able to increase its population. And we have seen what will be the result if all the eggs get hatched into larvae and attain the adultship. Naturally, the whole earth will be for organism only. Is that occurring in the nature? No, it will not occur. How it is possible? In the sense, constancy in population will occur. Even if the organisms increase abnormally also, population of that species will not flourish till the end. Why? Because the offspring will die in large number before reaching the reproductive age itself. Okay. So before reaching the reproductive age itself, the offspring will die. Just because of that feature only a minimum number of the organism will be retained. Okay. And not only that, what are all the reasons for the death of offspring means all those organisms should have food, other sources just for leading life, is it not? For example, if you take up the human population, if it is getting explored, then what will be the negative factors? Food material. All the people will not have shelter. All the people will not have jobs. What is occurring now is you can imagine, is it not? So the same thing in other organisms also. So before attaining the reproductive age itself, many of the offspring will die. Okay. So maybe just due to lack of food material or lack of facilities or something else will ultimately kill the offspring such that same proportion of that population will be retained. Okay. So for this, if at all, imagine the progeny has been explored, what will happen? The food material, as per Malthus' theory, food material is not getting increased, is it not? So if the food material is not increasing, then naturally the progeny which has been produced in great number have to struggle for its existence. As the food material is limited, naturally you can expect a competition. For example, if you take up human beings, how many people or how many unemployed striving for the jobs, there a great competition will be existing between them, is it not? In the same way, here for food's sake, since food sources are very much limited, the members of a population, particularly which will be depending upon that food material, will be competing with each and other. In that quarreling or competition, many of these organisms will die. Okay. So here, a competition between the members of a population or struggle for existence is explained as 3 types. We can take the first type as intraspecific struggle. This struggle is in between the organisms or individuals of same species. Intra, that is nothing but within specific species. So the struggle seen in between the organisms of the same species. For example, just now I told you the competition between unemployers. In a sense, same species, Homo sapiens. So the competition between the human beings for a particular job can be dealt as intraspecific struggle. That is the struggle between the organisms which are belonging to same species. That is the first struggle. And second struggle, here the struggle can be dealt not only for job, of course, here if we consider this thing, we have dealt as job. But regarding other organisms, you can take it as food, shelter, even for mate also. Okay. So if the organism, particular organism is male, it will be going for female for mating purpose, for reproduction purpose. Is it not? So all these points, that is nothing but food, shelter, mate, will have a hold on rate of reproduction. That means intraspecific struggle will be there for food sake, for shelter sake, for mate sake also. In this regard, I can tell you one example, such as scorpion or even peacock also. Okay, so among these peacocks, you know very well that the peacock, male peacock only, will be having long feathers, which will be very beautiful to see. So those male peacocks, for mating purpose, they'll be attracting the female just by spreading its feathers, and will have a particular type of dance, that is nothing but nuptial dance. So the female, which are less in number, will be selecting the male peacock, which will be able to dance well, it seems. Very funny, no? So here, in the same way, even the male scorpion also will be going for nuptial dance by raising its chalcon, poisonous chalcon, up in the air, and will be moving towards the sides. How the peacock is able to move towards the sides, like that even a scorpion also will be able to move towards sides. So in the same way, here a scorpion will be going for nuptial dance, for attracting the female for mating sake. In a sense, since the females are less in number, the male will be able to attract, has to struggle for mating. Is it not? That means not only for food and shelter, even for mating also, a great struggle is there in between different organisms which are belonging to same species. Okay, that is ultimately known as intraspecific struggle. That is the struggle between the organisms which are belonging to same species, in the sense within the species. Okay. And coming to the next point, that is interspecific struggle. Inter, in between the species. When we can attain this thing, if the food material is same for different species. For example, if you take up grass, Grass is taken as food material by cow, buffalo, rabbit, horse, all these organisms which will be depending upon the same grass will have very much competition, is it not? Suppose if you imagine a grassland, wherein that grassland can be occupied by so many organisms which will be depending upon grass, is it not? For example, if you take up a herd of buffaloes, oxen, then cows, then rabbits, then goats, sheep, all these are grazing in the same grassland. Imagine a condition like that. These organisms, the higher, in the sense, bulls and oxen, all these ones will be threatening the small rabbits such that they won't come for competition. That means here we can imagine interspecific struggle. This we can explain in which condition, suppose the food material has to be shared by different species. So that is the interspecific struggle. Okay. So interspecific struggle is can be seen among the species wherein the same type of food habits occur. Okay. So that type of competition can be dealt as interspecific struggle. And third point, struggle with the environment. Here, you can imagine the organisms struggling with the environment. In the sense, adverse environmental conditions. Imagine a cyclone, flood, earthquake, tsunami, volcanic eruptions. When these are occurring, naturally, what will happen here? All the organisms will be dying, is it not? So when disasters, nothing but catastrophes occur in the environment, these organisms will be dying. So due to the environmental changes also, naturally, struggle for existence can occur. Imagine a volcano has been erupted. That hot lava will be coming out, soot will be coming out, different varieties of gases will be arising. So due to these, many organisms, not one species, many species, different species will be dying just due to that. And if it is regarding floods or tsunamis, how the organisms will be driven into the oceans, seas. Okay, so like that, here struggle with the environment also will be making this population to attain constancy. Okay, so here this thing, how the constancy of population will be occurring, just we have seen. And coming to the next point, that is universal occurrence of variations. Here, no two organisms are exactly similar. They'll be naturally showing differences, nothing but variations. Okay. Even the offspring of the same parents also will be different. Imagine, in the sense, if you look into your sibling, that is either your sister or brother, they will be a little different from you. Even though you both came out of similar, in the sense, same parents, you both will not be looking alike. Some changes, variation is nothing but change. So you people will be showing variations. So these variations may be useful or harmful or even neutral also exists. So the changes or differences, actually, differences may be harmful or useful or neutral. So the useful variations help an organism to overcome struggle. Just now we had dealt with struggle for existence, is it not? So just to overcome the struggle, useful variations will help the organisms. Such variations which are useful to overcome the struggle for existence will be naturally passed on to the next generation. Okay. So the useful variations only will be used, and those variations which are useful for that particular generation will be passed on to the next generation. So that was explained in natural selection. Here, this natural selection, which was put forward by Charles Darwin, is given by Charles Darwin. The individual possessing harmful variations which are reproductively less successful. Harmful in the sense which are not useful. Useful in the sense they only will be selected by the organisms itself. That means which are useful, nothing but beneficial variations will increase the ability to reproduce and leave more fertile offspring. And here, these organisms only will be fit in this nature or on this earth, and those organisms only will be fit to survive. So only those organisms only will reproduce, and these organisms will be able to put forward, in the sense actually here these ones will be represented in future generations, however they fit maybe in struggle for existence. Okay, so this is actually natural selection, and here this natural selection is called as survival of the fittest by Herbert Spencer. Here what Charles Darwin has told in sense, nature selects the organisms which are having the useful variations only. And the organisms which are not having the useful variations will diminish, will die. This theory put forward by Charles Darwin, called as natural selection, is called as survival of the fittest by Herbert Spencer. Okay, so with this we'll finish, students. Tomorrow we'll continue. Okay, thank you.